Hi, Snehal. Thank you so much for taking the time to appear on this channel called Swadesh. This is the first interview that I'm conducting for this channel, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Thank you. Always, always.
Okay, perfect. So let's get started. Okay, so as you know, this channel is created to generate awareness about anybody who wants to come back to India from abroad. And since we both have done that, I thought it would be a good idea to create a platform for people who want to know more about how it's to come back, what are the opportunities here, what are the challenges here, what are the threats here, what would it be a good idea, would it not be a good idea? So let's get started on the discussion. Let's start with introducing yourself and giving a little background about who you are, where you were, and how did you come back to India, and what are you doing now? Like quickly, but then we'll get into the details of each phase later.
Sounds perfect. So, as you know, my name is Snehal Singh. I am a publisher, a business alignment coach, an author, and also a podcaster. That's how I would simply put it. Um, my journey has been a long journey when it comes to training, coaching. Uh, Publishing journey has been very new, but it initiated or started when I was in States in 2016, 2017. So I spent good 6.5, 7 years in States. Uh, and then we made a shift. It was an intentional shift to come back to India. So that happened around 3 years ago, just when COVID had just gotten over, and thankfully, in India, I did not experience COVID, but that's where the shift happened. And most of the things that I've done before is what I still continue, even if after I've come back. So publishing business is still on, coaching is still on, all the corporate work is still on, and writing, of course, is still on. So yeah, that's what I currently do.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that quick intro. Okay, and I'm sure everybody who's listening wants to know, like, like for an individual like me, it was an easy decision to pack my bags and come back 12 years ago, or no, in 2010. But for a husband wife like you, right, it becomes a collective decision. It's not an individual decision. And obviously your husband is working somewhere, right? He was employed there and he is employed now, whereas you run a business, right? So how difficult was it for you to both come to the same conclusion that, okay, you know what, let's pack our bags and go back to India? And what was that thinking process
So
like back then?
So I'll be very honest, Chetna, I was not ready to move in the first place in 2016 that we moved. I was already freelancing. I had already set up my entire network here where I was not even marketing to get business. It was on autopilot. Okay. That is the level I had already reached. So when you're at that peak, you're looking at leveling up, and then I moved, okay, with zero network. So that was my moment of learning that now if I'm doing anything, I should be able to do it from any corner of the world. So somewhere or the other by 2018, 2019, I started realizing that, see, and people who live in states, I think you and I, we know that everything depends on the government. Everything is so externally dependent that it's no more about your wishes. It is so much more about, okay, will the visa come in? Will it be approved? How many days will it be approved? Somewhere in 2018, I had made up my mind that no matter where I go, or where I live, I should be able to work. And that's where I already had started shaping my business in a way that even if I have to come back, because his job was steady. And a steady job is something I think each family as a setup needs, one person at least. So keeping that intact and making sure that I'm in alignment with what happens with him is something is that I was very clear about. Okay. And I think as a couple, then for us, just, looking at the pros and the cons of country, and the lifestyle and the living. I think that's where we had to do a lot of discussions and decide ki, okay, what are we ready to compromise on, okay, and what are we not ready to compromise on. And that was the space where both of us were very clear that we got to be close to our families. That was our ultimate decision maker, saying it's okay if we are going back, then we are going back because we want the extended families, and we want our people around us. It wasn't that we had not built a huge network there as well, and we had like a family setting even there. Uh, Yet, my mom, my dad, my sister, that feeling, I think, drove both of us. He has a brother, I have a sister, and it made it a little easier for us to make that decision. But yes, I have seen many couples strive through it because each one's visa at times is different, and therefore making and coming to consensus of, what are we really sacrificing and what are we taking back becomes challenging. But yes, for us, the emotional connect was the key.
Mm. So
So,
one thing that what resonated most with me is the restrictions that you have in the US. For example, for me as a visa person, I was allowed to work only for the organization who had given me the visa. And that personally felt very restricting for me. I thought, I wanted to start a business, I wanted to help other people, I wanted to do more, but I could not do more there. So that was also one of the constructive reasons for me to come back. And you also sounded somewhere, the same, you also felt the same restriction. Can you elaborate on that? Like, what is the restriction that you felt over there that you could not really fly? Your wings were clipped, something like that.
so to be very honest, I think the challenges that I faced were very much people oriented because, uh, I think it was both. It was both. One, of course, the restrictions that come with the list of rule book that we have to follow, which I was not used to. Again, I was a free bird. I have always been a free bird. I feel like doing something, I jump into it. You know me. I think later, take action first. That's the personality style I had. But here, I had to bring in that one big shift. And first 1 year, because I do not belong to a category who can do something that is not ethical. Okay.
Mm,
It did take a toll on
true,
me because for me to apply for that EAD and to get it approved, and the EAD did not come in, it was delayed. So nearly 1.5 year, I'm just waiting for that EAD to actually come in so that
true.
I can start working, which I'm already more than capable of, which I have a network for, and legally I can actually do it because Raj was in such a visa where I could easily work. Okay, I was in a L2 dependent visa, so
Right.
things were very simple for me. Ideally, looking from the rule book perspective. But the delays that happen, okay, one of the reasons why we also had to come back at that point in time was because there were too many delays to apply for anything. Okay, so even if we were settling there and my business was really going at its peak, and at that point in time, it was the entire market of United States, uh, the government rules logics did not support us at all. And apart from the pressure of being an entrepreneur, which is a lot. Okay, as an entrepreneur we know what all roles we play in that. Adding to this mental stress of, will the dates come, is everything legally right, how do I make sure that there are no challenges, because his visa is important, and that always held me back from many things. Like if I wanted to take a huge jump, take a huge loan, and probably, get into a higher business, I could not take that risk mentally as well. Forget legally if I could try it out, but mentally I wasn't ready because I wasn't sure what would happen then, you
Mm,
know.
mm.
So
So it's almost like a
yeah, that's
temporary scenario, right? You don't know what the next phase is going to look like. You don't know whether you're going to get the visa approved or not, which mostly gets approved. But then it's still a regulation. It's still something that needs to be done.
I think it does get approved, but it is not something that you know when you are there.
Correct, correct,
You're looking at somebody else's life, okay, or
correct.
family. Like we had friends who were going through probably the similar scenarios. Okay, when they are going through it, it's easy for you as a third person to look at it and say, It'll happen. Don't worry about it. But when you are there, you're not able to make so many decisions because they're based on that date.
Correct,
The
correct,
date that we're looking forward to in your head, because for planning, okay, um, every calculation comes down to
correct.
how long do I have to do this? How long, what do I promise my clients? Is it a year long commitment I can take a risk for? So on and so forth. So many things that come down to a date. And
Absolutely.
it becomes really easy to say to
Absolutely.
others
It,
that
it,
everything
it's
is fine and it will work out. But for us, I think
correct.
it doesn't give us the vision or the freedom to have a
That's what
vision
I was going
where
to say,
you
that
can fly.
you're imprisoned in the timeline of the regulations instead of a real prison,
Yes,
right? And most people don't
yes.
realize it when they wait forever for the green card, when they wait forever for the visa to be granted, when they wait forever for their family members to come join them, you know?
That is something that Raj and I were very clear that we are not okay with,
Mhm.
because it in a way creates a emotional baggage on us. Okay, like everything comes down to, can I come and visit to India? I'll have to depend on, see, these are small things. Like if I have to travel to visit my family, and there are so many times that I have to put it through a filter of government regulations rather than what
Correct.
my heart is feeling. That is something that we were not okay with. Like even applying for GC was pretty simpler for L1, L2 visas in comparison to H1, because the queue is different. It's much
Correct.
sooner that it clears and everything. But what are we compromising for? Our parents, we are the eldest kids, our parents are old. What's the point in me waiting for 10 years and then I come back or bring them here in their oldest age and expecting them to adjust to a different climate, a different world altogether, where
Mm.
the entire world, whatever life they have lived, is here? So
Correct.
that didn't make sense to us.
Hmm. So that sounds like, then put together, it makes an easy decision for you to, okay, let's pack our bags and let's go settle in India. It might take a few years for us to get adjusted to the new environment, which becomes new after you've stayed in the US for some time, right? But how was your journey of
I
it?
think it has changed now.
Yeah.
Like
How
if
was
I
your
had to come
experience
back in
coming back and settling in?
2019, see, I visited India regularly, like every 6 months, okay?
Okay.
So I can say that if I had to shift back in 2019, okay, then, or even in 2020 early, because COVID had hit and everything, I would say it would have been a great shift where you have to adjust to many things, okay?
Mhm.
However, somewhere in 2019, India had started shifting and changing to monetization. Due to monetization, a lot of online platforms like GPay and everything started coming in.
Correct.
Everything started moving to automation. Like every time I came back to India, I saw that, okay, there are new restaurants, there are new places to go to, the roads are better. A lot of things have changed. So in 2021, when we made that official shift of, okay, let's pack it, come back here, I think, of course, we have to, reroute ourselves in terms of career. We have to reroute ourselves in terms of driving sense at times, okay? Because the driving in India is not that great as yet. I would still say as yet. And of course, the greenery versus the pollution concept that we always have to reconsider. But if I'm looking at the rest overall, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of having everything, in terms of the comfort level, the furniture, the home styling, all of that, I think, has become so global today, with everything being global, that it is not a lot. It is just a mindset shift that we have to make. Like I still
Mm.
have everything IKEA furniture at home, and my home pretty much still looks exactly how it looked there. The interior is the same, and I
Right.
have a choice of doing that. I didn't have to go for a traditional home, right? So I think it does come down to a mindset shift. I wouldn't say it is that challenging. Yes, of course, people who have kids, they may have to take an extra decision of the schooling of their
Correct.
children.
Choose a
Okay.
school, yeah.
But apart from that, if you're talking about lifestyle, I think India has jumped
Mm.
decades in last 5 to 7 years, that the lifestyle here and there doesn't really matter. The conversation style doesn't matter. Like I talk to teenagers and they pretty much speak the same language. They pretty much listen to the same music and they pretty much have the same conversations. So what are we really,
Stopping ourselves for.
prioritizing? Yeah, what are we
Right.
really prioritizing when we're choosing to stay in a foreign land is a bigger question.
Right, right. So
Because that's
what
the
you
most
said is more than a physical move, it was a mental move, right?
mental move,
Mostly, I
yes.
think people who are still living over there but wish to be here. It's not like there's anything wrong staying over there, right? If everything works out for you. But people who have the inkling of going back to India but are not able to make that decision or, stamp that decision, then what you're saying is it's a mindset shift, right? And what can they
The
do,
mindset.
to make that mindset shift happen?
I think first is understanding what your priority actually is. See, we had to work it down and bring it down to, and it wasn't an easy decision. Like, I did go through that turmoil of a business is just starting, it has set up, and now again I have to move. I did go through those things myself. We both probably did have those conversations which moved into fights, agreements to disagreements, and disagreements to agreements. Uh, all of that will happen, and it is natural, but understand that it is natural, and through that you're doing a lot of thinking process of what is it that is important for you, and
Mhm.
therefore prioritizing. Like, see, certain people, and I know because the circle of people that we were also connected with were also pretty much like us, where we had visas for a limited period of time and we had a choice of applying or not applying for GCs, and each one had their priority which helped them make their decisions better. Like, there was a couple who did not have kids, but their priority was very simple: anything and everything that I know I will need until retirement, I will earn and then go back. It was simple. So when I know I have this X amount, I am packing my bags and going back. So clarity is the key. Okay. The challenge is sometimes you don't have to move because you want to, but because the rule book or the visas actually are defining that decision for you. In that moment, acceptance is step one. Understanding that, and if I may just go to a little spiritual context here, understanding and remembering that everything happens for a reason, and you'll always be placed where you're needed. A reminder of that changes things, because we always consider that I want this, but as a family setting, each one has their roles to play and things to do for this world. So if you are put in a different location, the sooner you accept it, the faster you will be able to see the pros of that place than the cons. And the more you resist it, the more your shift becomes difficult, because then you're not thinking through all the challenges that you're going to face when you make the shift.
Okay.
So
And now that
priority
we are
is the
right, and now that we're touching upon the challenges, right? So obviously, moving to India in a different setting now becomes that comes with some challenges, right? So how
of
would you
course.
list, like, what are the challenges that you face that you had to adjust to?
See, the fears, I would say very simply, are one biggest is lifestyle downgrade, which people feel, infrastructure, which is not as much done, and pollution of bureaucracy, as we talk about. Again, when we talk about how we look at our careers, I think it's more of a fear of career stagnation or lesser opportunities. That is how mostly we look at. But I want to just give a reminder for all those, because if you're talking about this, we're not talking about somebody who just gone there and come back. We're talking about someone who's staying there for
Correct,
a long period of time and is not looking at the growth India has had. Okay.
correct,
So, challenges, yes. Again, worries about children's education. Will they adapt to Indian schooling system? I think if we as parents have not forgotten our roots and we have made sure that irrelevant of where my child is living, is it learning the basic two languages, the local language and Hindi, then the child can shift to any schooling today, because schooling system has also changed today.
right, right,
Okay. So are these challenges? Yes, they are. Will you feel that you're downgrading? To a certain extent, yes. You may feel so, but you do have a choice of upgrading your lifestyle.
correct,
But
correct,
again, come down to, do you know what you want? And are you ready to do what it takes? Okay.
right.
The other thing I think major is, uh, you know, because we're talking about feelings, Chita, the biggest challenge is none of these. It is me feeling outsider in my own country. Because when you're
Mm,
talking to your family members, when you come back and, you're going with the old India that you left and you're operating from that space and, they keep correcting you saying, now it doesn't happen that way. Now it is like this. You start feeling alien in your own land, and that rerouting takes
correct.
time.
Mm,
So if you already have started, if you know that 6 months down the line, I have to make that decision, whatever the result is, can we start preparing ourselves from now? Is something that I would encourage, anyone to any listener to tune in. But yes, these are certain challenges. The lifestyle
correct.
change, career stagnation, definitely are the questions that run into every person's mind, whether working or not working.
That's true. That's true. And I agree with you that there is a certain amount of alienation that happens because you are programmed now for a different culture and suddenly you come back to your own culture. But give it 6 months, 8 months, and you'll come back to being your own self that you grew up in this setting.
Can I add here something? This is where resistance come into picture. Like if
Mhm.
you're so stuck on I was living there, then that 6 to 8 months is going to take 2 to 3 years
Ah,
until you give up
true.
and accept. So it makes
True.
more sense in
To
accepting
start,
that right.
correct. To start the preparation when you are there, so that when you're here, you are what you were back then, right? Just smoothly inserting yourself into this new environment. Now, when you came back from the US and your business changed because there your market was different, here your market became different. What was your experience like transitioning and serving different set of people? Not different set of people, but Indians, a different target audience.
So, two different two level challenges I faced. One are the logistical challenges because fortunately, unfortunately, I had missed demonetization and I had missed COVID, as I said earlier. So the huge shift that country faced in terms of mindset, in terms of how they operated, I had totally missed that.
Okay.
So coming back, and I was a freelancer before that. I was already into business, but the business norms changed in those 7 years so much that learning again the basics of business is something that I had to come down to, and that kind of took a toll on me initially. But then it came down from a space of resistance again, where it was so much about, oh my God, I missed it, and now how much should I learn? But yes, understanding how India operates in terms of finances or in terms of the work life culture and how has it shifted was one of the biggest challenges that I faced. The second biggest challenge I faced again was monetary, because Chetna, for me, the clientele, see, when you shift countries, you shift networks also to a certain extent, unless you're choosing to do global work. And I was choosing to do global work. However, moving back and then handling two different timelines initially, because you're still setting your roots, okay, was a little challenging for me. So I kept running my USA business and kept the network active for good 18 to 20 months, though it was a struggle because I literally sleep in the afternoon to catch up on my sleep. So at
Correct.
early mornings and late evenings, early mornings I can capture the Indian audience, and late night I could capture the
Correct.
American audience. So leaving your network and recreating a network where
Correct.
you're now trying to understand how do people actually work, what are their ways of working,
Correct.
and the cultural shift. So whether we like it or not, I know that we have been grown up talking about IST, Indian Standard Time, and we know we make fun of it. But unfortunately, Chetna, that was the biggest challenge for me as well. Like, I'm scheduling my days, I am scheduling meetings, and people don't show up,
Oh,
or they're forgotten about it, or it's X time, and let's shift the time, and it is such a norm. Wherein in states, I never faced that. It
mm,
was other way around. I had to make sure that I'm sending the reminders in time. I had to be up on my toes. I had to, send a reminder, log in 5 minutes early. So those were
right.
norms.
Right.
Actually
Right.
found out of so many clients, just three or four who actually stick to the timeline. If
Mhm.
they promise, they will show up. So that cultural difference as well, where we focus so much on building the relationship to or a rapport to such a level that it's okay to do anything.
Mm.
was something that I had to rewire myself to.
Right,
So that
right.
was second. And the third biggest challenge I would say is navigating through everything, utilities, real estate, understanding how the processes work in terms of either connecting with people or in terms of how to build your ground in terms of again the conversion. So a package that I worked at immediately shifted, publishing packages if I'm working from states. And it's a mindset of an Indian itself. Okay, it's
Correct,
not that in states I did not work with Indians. I did work with Indians even then, but I never had to bargain.
correct,
Okay. And I don't like bargaining. It's like this, these are my prices, this is it. And I initially faced a lot of resistance from that's just too much. And I'm like, you were ready to pay when I was in States. What
right,
changed?
right, right.
Okay.
So I think
So
when you're saying the monetary stuff, there are many challenges, but the best part about living in India is the cost of living is so low compared to the US, or UK. Whether you're buying a house, whether you're buying groceries, whether you're buying petrol, you know. So I think that is one of the best benefits. Okay, now to wrap up this episode, because we'll do another episode where we talk about the business challenges and how somebody can pluck themselves from abroad, come back to India. But to wrap up this episode, because we're on a timeline, what is your last message to anybody who's thinking about shifting back to India, even has a small inkling about it?
I would say, remember that it is not a geographical shift, it is a mindset shift because we all are born and brought up in a way where we can, and we are a part of this nature. So wherever you're planted, you can bloom. The
Correct.
question is, are you ready to accept and do what it takes to bloom and take roots where you are? Two, to each and every Indian, what is resisting you to come back to your own roots and just reground yourself? It's the easiest thing to do. You
Mhm.
belong here. That's the blood that runs in your veins. So accept it if it comes back to you.
Right,
If
right.
your motherland calls you, acceptance to that will change everything in terms of your perspective and ease out your decisions. And third, please plan financially in terms of when you're shifting back, what is your priority? And is your priority about getting comfort and having the lifestyle that you want? Or is your priority to majorly show off that you are an NRI? Because that changes everything. And so the times we waste 2 to 3 years in just realizing that, okay, I should have just done this. So whatever that done this, get to that part first. Your walk and talk anyway shows that you are somebody who has evolved in life because of the experiences you've had. So they don't need to be shown off. And I know many of them are not going to like it, but trust me, Indian brands are also better. India has everything that every other country has to offer, whether it is brands, whether it is lifestyle, or whether it is a way of communication as well. So you just have to find the right circle and connect with the right people.
Thank
So
you so much,
it's just,
Snehal.
thank you,
Thank
thank
you so
you.
much. I don't want to cut you off, but there is so many golden nuggets that have come out of this conversation. And I'm sure that we're going to talk again because there's so much to learn from you, from your experience and everything that you have gone through. you know and if somebody has questions, they can put it in the comment section so that we can address them next time. But like you said, that everything has changed in India. It's the lifestyle has upgraded. The cost of living is definitely less compared to other places. You have freedom to be yourself, start a business, do your thing, whatever you feel like doing. Meet people, meet your family members, live with your family members, eat home cooked food, and all the benefits come with living in India. So if anybody's considering moving back to India, I think it should be a comfortable decision if you, like Snehal said, get the mindset right. Okay, so thank you, Snehal, for your time. I really appreciate it, and see you next time.
Thank you.